In the heart of the city, high above the streets in a glass-walled boardroom, a company teetered on the edge of collapse. Organization had once been a rising star, praised for its innovation and aggressive expansion, but now it was floundering. A series of bad decisions had brought the company to the brink, and its board was called into an emergency session to find a way forward.
The CEO, Sarah, sat at the head of the table, her face a mask of calm, though the weight of the situation pressed heavily on her shoulders. Around the room, the other board members fidgeted anxiously. They had seen this coming, but no one had spoken up until it was too late.
The failure of the organization was not due to any single event, but rather a chain of poor decisions that began years earlier. The company had entered new markets with grand ambitions, ignoring internal warnings about potential risks. Their venture into a highly competitive sector, which seemed promising at first, had drained resources and morale.
Over time, cracks in the board's decision-making process began to show. Fear and anxiety took root, and board members, including Anthony, who was known for his sharp insights, had stopped raising objections. The company was in crisis, and the board's inability to confront the issues head-on had brought them to this point. As the meeting progressed, tensions mounted. Sarah, in a moment of vulnerability, admitted the depth of the company's financial troubles.
We have two options. We can either liquidate our assets now, or we find a way to turn this around.
Her voice shook with the weight of the decision ahead, but the room was silent. No one wanted to be the first to speak. In the corner, Anthony cleared his throat. He had been part of the board for years and had seen the company rise and fall. For months, he had stayed silent, but now, with nothing left to lose, he spoke up.
We've been making decisions based on fear, not facts. Every time someone raised a concern, it was brushed aside because we didn't want to disrupt the flow. But the flow has brought us here, on the edge of bankruptcy. We need to stop being afraid of difficult conversations.
His words hung in the air for a moment before Sarah nodded.
You're right. I've been guilty of that too. We need to reset.
The rest of the board members, many of whom had been quietly harboring their frustrations, began to speak. Ideas were floated, challenged, and debated. The tone shifted from one of defeat to one of determination. For the first time in years, the board was functioning as it should. Members were communicating openly, sharing diverse perspectives, and critically examining the options before them. In the weeks that followed, the organization underwent a radical transformation. The board, now united and committed to transparent decision-making, made tough choices. They closed down the unprofitable divisions, redirected their resources toward their core strengths, and reached out to key investors for support. Under Sarah's leadership, they embraced a new governance model that prioritized accountability, diversity of thought, and the courage to challenge the status quo.
Within a year, the company's fortunes had turned around. The same board that had once been crippled by fear and indecision was now a model of effective leadership. The lessons they had learned, about the dangers of groupthink, the importance of challenging assumptions, and the power of open dialogue, became the cornerstone of their strategy moving forward.
In the end, the redemption of the organization wasn't just a story of financial recovery. It was a story of leadership, of a board that had rediscovered its purpose and role in guiding the organization through its darkest hour. By learning to embrace difficult conversations and confront their fears, the board members had not only saved their company but had become stronger leaders in the process.